Good afternoon or evening, depending on what side of your pond you're on, and welcome to Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy, and today I'm joined by Darren Woodhead for an extra special interview. We're going to have Accrington Stanley Hall of Famer and Colt hero Jonathan Smith on the show with us today. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Hi there, Phil. Nice to speak to you.
Hey, Jonathan.
Hi, Darren.
And Jonathan, now you started with Accrington Stanley right at the beginning of the Coleman era. And my understanding is that you were actually signed by Eric Wally about 2 months before Coleman came aboard, and then Coleman came on, and you played a few friendly matches, and he liked what he saw, and then signed you to 2 years, and the rest is history from there, kind of.
Yeah. Eric was a former chairman and manager of Great Harwood. I signed the deal at Accrington just before John got the job, I think. I was really excited, but I'd already played against John, actually, the previous season when he was playing manager at Aston United, so I knew all about John and Jimmy and the style of play and things that they brought. So when they were announced as managers, I was chuffed about that.
What were your first steps into football, Jonathan, before Stanley then? You take us back a year or two. How did you get into football?
Yeah, honestly, I was just mentioning earlier then that I was a goalkeeper until I was 14. Not a very good one either, to be honest. It was a PE teacher who actually, he wanted to toughen up the school. And, you're big, you're good at heading the ball, because we've been playing a few little games in training and things. And he said, I want to toughen up the team, so he put me at centre half. And from that point, I sort of, that was my position. I think that goes to explain a lack of ability with the football, I think, at my feet. The heading ability has always been there, but, I'll laugh along with anybody. There's no hers and graces kind of thing. I know what my strengths were, what my weaknesses were, but I think my biggest excuse is to say, look, I was a goalkeeper. I've never received any real coaching throughout, my football career, so to speak. It was just a PE teacher who saw something and said, listen, we need this. I went from the lowest level of actually Sunday League football. I think it was like Division 4 of Sunday League football, my first club that I played for, on a Saturday and a Sunday. And I signed for Darren as a 17-year-old. It was under Ian McGarry, actually. He's well-known non-league manager. Yeah, he was my first manager there. I remember, getting paid.
He's a bit of a character as well, isn't he?
Real character. Got some real good stories about Ian McGarry. I mean, he used to give me shots of brandy to toughen me up at times at half time and things like that. Some real old school methodology. But yeah, to go playing for Darwin and getting paid, I was paying subs for that pub team, and it really was the lowest level of pub team you could play for. And then to start and getting paid £20 a week and £5 a win, I couldn't believe it. Seasons there.
I don't know how true it is, but I used to work with a guy who played for him, and he said he used to give him a shot or something. I don't know if it was a shot of whiskey, and then punch him in the stomach as well before he went.
In the stomach on the way out.
Toughen him up.
He'd come in 5 to 3 on a tray, a brandy for you. This is to toughen you up, and real old school mentality. We never had, the lads. That was all about motivation and honestly, he was good at what he did. He got results in non-league. It was some harsh lessons with Ian. I went from playing for Darwin for about 3 seasons, I think, for a season or 2 at Great Harwood, and that's where Eric saw me playing, of course. Paul Wally, his son, I remember getting a phone call saying Accrington Stanley were interested. And again, just, my mindset is, wow, really, I was chuffed to bits to even play for Darwin. I couldn't believe I was playing for Darwin and getting paid for playing football. But then Accrington Stanley called, you're thinking, wow. And that £20 a week, I don't mind telling you, that £20 a week turned to £80 a week. And I was pinching myself, couldn't believe it. That they were interested. And like I said, John and Jimmy got the job. And away we went in that 1999 season.
Yeah. So you were straight into the team near enough, weren't you? Quite an inexperienced centre-back pairing, weren't it, you and Robbie Williams?
Yeah, myself and Robbie. I think another centre-half partner was Carl Bell at the time as well. We played a few games. And of course, Jay Flannery. You had Jay on the other week. What a good guy. A real great guy. Look around dressing rooms. You'll hear this said a lot, I'm sure, but when people talk about leaders and characters in dressing rooms, I look round at that team and, they were a team of men, real tough, hard guys. And obviously being involved in football still and in a changing room environment now, just the one thing that's changed, lacking when you do look around sometimes. I'm not saying in our changing room at Chorley at all, we've got some real good leaders in there, of course we have, but just generally, everyone had 4 or 5 of these, tough, hard men who were, tough to beat and knew the dark side of the game, so to speak. But of course, things have moved on now, and there's lots more protection for players, and the game's moved on. For the better, I suppose, as well. You can't disagree with that. But Jeff Lanner in that team as a centre midfielder, you can imagine as a young lad, all you did, just like a sponge, you took everything off him. But good players that we had around that time, and Robbie Williams developed like myself as well. We were learning from him all the time, which was great to be around.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you must notice changes now, and it's probably the same in workplaces as well. Everything's changed, hasn't it? The way people interact and the way they talk to you, everything, people are a bit more considerate than what they were 20 years ago. You just got told in no uncertain terms, didn't you? Yeah. So
John was known for that. John could tear up a dressing room now, and these days, you don't really see many dressing rooms with things going off. I mean, there's fallouts, there's fights in football, of course, there is all the time. Just not as commonplace. I was talking to someone the other day, actually. I always remember this one when if a player ever got sent off, sending offs were more commonplace, weren't they? Even 15, 20 years ago they were. But you used to always say to each other, be careful, the referee will even it up. And you know what? Invariably, he actually did, because there was always other tackles flying in, and 10v10 wasn't a rare occurrence. Whereas these days, it's very unusual for 2 players to get sent off, for bad tackles or things, because the game has moved on and the challenges aren't flying in like they used to. Yeah.
So you were straight into the team, but what really caught the eye in that first season was your goals, to be quite honest. I mean, especially coming to the end of the season, last 3 games you scored in all of those, and they're all memorable matches, weren't they? Big crowds, and that must have been great as a young player playing in those matches.
It was brilliant. We didn't have the best starts, really, to be honest. John's first season, we were up and down until about Christmas time. I remember John at one point, he came into the dressing room at half-time and I can't remember the game now, but he did say to me, he said, listen, your career's on the line here. Not just me, to the whole team. Your career's on the line at this football club, and so is mine. If we get beat today, I think we're done. We were 10th at the time. We didn't have a massive budget. One of the better budgets in that league, and there were expectations for us to be doing much better. But from Christmas, we went on, and we were unbeaten from Christmas time to the end of the season. And then, the goals started to flow. I remember scoring against Lincoln in that 10-1 win, which was a big turning point especially for confidence, I think. Went on and scored a few goals towards the end of the season. I can remember the first goal, Radcliffe, and then the last game of the season when we had to win. I don't think many people realise that. The league table at the end, we all finished on 84 points, and that's 3 teams.
Yeah.
All finished on 84 points, so it was really, really close. If we drew that game, then we wouldn't have gone up. So even on the last game of the season, it was really scary stuff. But lucky to score those goals, it was unbelievable, and to see that over the line, and go up as champions was fantastic.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And so from moving on from there, you ended up playing get a step up again in the Northern Premier League. I think we had 3 seasons altogether in that division, a couple bedding down before the promotion season. You won a few cups. How did you find that, moving up to that next level?
As always, again, a step up. There's my limited ability, what I could do. I could go and win any header. I was confident of winning any header against anybody, and blocks and tackles, I could do all of that and be a threat in both boxes. But it started to be the clever movements of players that you hadn't come up against before. I always remember the forwards were, you're now playing against proper players there, and as you stepped up, we had some good players as well, like Mike Marsh and a few others who joined us, and we could learn off them. But from a personal point of view, some much better quality opposition that you're coming up against, that you're learning from, and invariably sometimes, made a mistake or, and had to take that away. John and Jimmy had no problem in telling you that, they'd hold you to account straight away, which is, how it should be, of course. But steep learning curve, but, enjoyed that. And of course, in that final season in that league, I can remember players like Mark Sartori coming in, an experienced centre-half from the league. He's at Man City now, isn't he?
Physio.
And a bit of everything there, Carlo came in, Steve Alford. We played 3 at the back. I remember we won the first 10 games of that season.
Yeah.
We were a settled team, and as John has done, that stat that I love, and I always say it to everyone as well, when John and Jimmy came in 1999, they improved that league position every single year. I think until they went to Rochdale. When he left that time, that was the only time when there was some backwards progress made, if you would. So if you on the graph of progress, every year the league position improved, and it just showed you that, how they knew what they were doing. They were just adding little bits all the time, adding to what they had.
And of course, he kept sprinkling a few experienced players in there. Because, a few of you were in the same boat, weren't you? You were all learning on the job, so to speak, weren't you? Paul Mullen and Procky and a few players all, on the same journey, really, weren't you, at that time? Similar age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're all coming through together. Yeah, a lot of people always talk about John signing lots of Liverpudlian lads, and of course that's what he knows. That's his area, and his roots are around there. But yeah, more than a few local lads. Steve Flitcroft, Paul Howarth. We all came through. Gary Williams. He was a Burnley lad. There's plenty of local lads playing for Accrington around those years. It did well for the club. So
yeah. So next step was the conference. In between, and plenty of cup runs. There must have been some memorable days, and it's hard to visualise what it was like going in the conference, wasn't it? That now you can seem blasé about it, about when they were in Football League and all them years, but to go into national football from non-league, from regional football, it was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big job, and I remember that the interest around that time as well in the club. It went from suddenly we were back on the map, so to speak. But rather than people taking the mick as to who Accrington and Stanley were, the cup runs and things, it really did put the club back on the map. I can remember actually, some of the interest. I even got some interest in myself. Funny story with Eric Worley. It was, I think, at the end of that promotion season, 2003, I think it was. When we finally got promoted into the conference, he took me into the office. It was coming towards the end of the season, I think, maybe March time. Transfer deadline was looming, as it was back then. And he said, listen, we've got some interest in you, and we're skint. But Oldham Athletic want you to go there. They made an offer. I didn't have an agent or anything like that. It was just a conversation with Eric and John in the porter cabin office that they had. So he basically said, right, we've got a new contract here. Like, unless Oldham come in and bid a reasonable amount of money for you, you're going nowhere, kind of thing. Which is, absolutely fine. I was contracted, but I just took it in a good faith, and I agreed a new contract. My £80 turned into a lot more than that. What I was dead chuffed about. And I thought, I keep thinking to myself, do I ask for a signing on fee? What do I say? So I sort of blurted it out, can I have a signing on fee, Eric, on this contract? So he said, well, what were you thinking? I was thinking, oh God, 500 quid. So he looks at me and he smiles. He says, right, okay. He said, there's £1,000 there. You'd have to go through the tax man and everything. Give me £1,000 signing on fee. I only asked for £500. I walked out thinking, God, I should have asked for more than that.
He must have been expecting, knowing Eric, he must have been expecting double that.
Exactly. So I walked out thinking, oh, it really nice. Eric must have been, he must have been laughing and giggling, thinking, wow, we could have got a lot more than that out of it. So yeah, the older move never came off. But yeah, we moved into the conference, and some big teams in there. Now back then, you're talking probably half the team were full time. Maybe we weren't. Obviously, we had a year. I think it was a season in the conference when we weren't full time, but we did make the move to become full time. So I think it was either 1 year or 2 years, as a full time, so to speak, which was a huge move for the club. And what funded that? Eric and John, Jimmy will probably tell you the same. I think it was the cup runs that we had, lots of TV coverage. We played Bournemouth in the first game down at their place, and we drew 1-1. Paul Mullen got us a goal down there, and then that led to the replay, which was on telly, which was live on Sky, I think, or BBC or something like that at the time. And obviously we beat Bournemouth to get a game against Huddersfield, I think in the second round, which was live on the old Match of the Day, live on Sunday television. And I'd just come back from injury, and I was sub. I came on at half time, and we had Andy Booth and John Stead were the two centre forwards for Huddersfield up front, and Andy Gout scored that wonder goal, of course, when we nicked it 1-0. We beat them, so we beat Huddersfield, beat Bournemouth, and we were all waiting for the draw for the third round, and the big teams were in, and we ended up with quite a disappointing draw, really. We got Colchester at home.
I remember going in clubhouse after the game or watching screen, and Colchester came up. But there you go. But it was brilliant times, weren't they? I saw on. I think it was Twitter that somebody put Rory Prendergast his penalty against Bournemouth the other day. His little turnaround before he hit it.
He was mad, Rory. Honestly,
he was some player on his day, though, wasn't he?
Very special, very special. Him, Dean Calcutt, he was the other wing on the opposite side. John and Jimmy have had some great wings over. I mean, Russell Payne, the first year, first 2 seasons that John was there. Mark Shirley, unbelievable players. Mark Shirley's probably the best winger I've ever seen. You gave him the ball and he held it up, not from strength, just from pure, balance and technical ability. What players we had in that team at the time as well. John Doolan at right back. There's such a good balance to it. And again, imagine me coming from that a few years before that. Playing in pub football to start to play with players as good as that. It really, it was a massive rise for me. And I did. From time to time, you struggled and your learning curve was very, very steep, and I had to have some times out of the team, which were frustrating, but all the time learning and having the right attitude, playing to instructions and listening. And I think John and Jimmy valued that. And, as the club improved the league position, I kept proving people wrong kind of thing, And there's certainly... Steve Flitcroft's a perfect example of someone who played for England under 18s. Great lad, great ability. He got some bad injuries, Steve, and it was really unfortunate. He was released from Blackburn. But, he was playing at the sort of the top level of youth football at the time and Blackburn Rovers. And, I'd been playing pub football at that time, but we ended up playing a few hundred games together, perhaps, at the same club, which showed, it's like chalk and cheese. He had all the ability in the world. I had no ability, but, I had the right attitude, I think, just to keep going and keep learning from people. So we sort of met in the middle.
Yeah, you obviously did something right, but you've got in the Stanley Hall of Fame, 250 appearances, 29 goals, so you caught the attention of enough people. I think it probably is, your attitude and obviously getting involved with a few scrapes as well, and you're always sticking your head in where other people didn't want to, and you were never shy away from anything, did you?
Yeah, a bit daft and stupid, but yeah, that was it. You wanted it, didn't you? You're not that good of a footballer. You really, really want to try and prove that you can be a part of it. So I cut some bruises. They were commonplace. I think more than once or twice I had to come off and be bandaged up and try and get back in the game, so to speak. Yeah.
And I imagine that's a big part of why you became Accrington Stanley's cult hero. I dug something up here from back in 2016. There was a website, 442.com, that went through all of the 92 clubs, and Lee Walker, who had written this, had actually picked you as Accrington Stanley's all-time cult hero. So I think that right there, that kind of speaks to the kind of player that you were, the guy that left it all on the pitch to have that kind of reputation.
Well, that means a lot, and to be honest as well, Phil, I show the kids at school that all the time. I put them on the board and say, "Look, this is me. Look at me." Yeah, the kids don't even believe me that I used to be a footballer. Sometimes when you tell the kids, they think you're joking. But that was really nice, honestly. I've seen that article as well. I think that's all it was, just an honesty that they showed me. Not the best player at all, but certainly put the effort in, the will to win. I think we were really, really nice times as well as we were climbing up those league. It was great to be a part of it, and of course, I have to play testament to some of the players I've played with there, because they're covering my weaknesses. I think one of my biggest strengths is that I knew my weaknesses, so to speak, but they were great at covering around. And the players we were mentioning there, who were playing next to me, John Doolan, Steve Hollis, Jamie Spear, sweeping up behind me and things, that they allowed a player like myself to go and be a part of a team like that. John and Jimmy gelled that team. It took us a little bit of time to gel, but once we did gel, there was no stopping us really. We had many.
Yeah. Do you think because that you had to think about your game, that it's helped you in your coaching career, rather than somebody who's just had things easily and not really thought about football?
Yeah. Darren, brilliant. That sums it up really. You do see the best managers in the world have never been the best players, really, have they? Wenger, Ferguson, obviously Guardiola's an exception to that, isn't he? He was a fantastic footballer, but many of the best managers haven't always been great players. And I think when you're slow and you can't play, you have to think about things a little bit more, and your positioning improves, and you start to read things. You can sense danger, especially as a defender. You start to think when you're vulnerable, and when you know that I think it's like a sixth sense. So yeah, it does help with your coaching, certainly. It really does help. So hit the nail on the head for me, and that's exactly what I say to many people. All these players who have all the ability in the world, who are very fast and skillful, they don't really have to think about too much about what they're doing. It's just a natural instinct that they've got. When you ask them to tell someone else about what they're doing, they can sometimes struggle to do that. So yeah, I totally agree with you down on that.
Yeah, well, we'll come on to your coaching career shortly. But so when it came to leaving the club, what sort of a decision was that? Was that based around the full-time, part-time, scenario?
A little bit, I think. Yeah, I just to be a full-time, professional footballer meant the world. That there was an offer there. Financially, it wasn't great. Obviously, we all had jobs, but then to have to give your job up and become a footballer as well, we actually, many of us took a cut because the money wasn't amazing, but we had a decent budget, to be fair, around that time. Just one thing on that now, the wages that Accrington were paying around that time are actually similar to what we're paying at Chorley now, which shows you that the wages around non-league football actually haven't gone through the roof like people think they have. For certain clubs who are bankrolled, yeah, they have. But I think the financial crisis had a little bit to do with that about 2008, 2009. But the money sloshing around now in non-league is the figures, the players' wages per week are actually very, very similar to when I was playing in 2003, 2004, 2005. And that's an interesting part of it. But yeah, I had a year there as a full-time footballer, but I think I was 28, 29 maybe. I got a very good offer from Barrow. It was basically doubling the money I was at Accrington full-time, and Barrow were only part-time. So I could go and become part-time again, and then go and do my teaching qualifications, and then just finish those off, which I did. And I'm an assistant head teacher now, so I've been teaching about 13 years, I think, now. But in between that, so when I left Accrington, I think 2005, and a year at Fleetwood. Sorry, I know 2 years at Barrow first of all, and then
Phil knows a little bit about Barrow, don't you, Phil?
I
know that's the Barrow in Furness, not the one in Lancashire, right?
Yeah, Barrow in Furness, yeah. Barrow, they're top of the conference at the minute. They're flying. They're doing very well.
They're doing well, yeah.
I had 2 years up at Barrow as a player there. I'll obviously do my teaching then, and then I had a year. I jumped on the Fleetwood bandwagon there for a year with them. They were signing lots of players, with experience around then. It was nice to be a part of that, and got another promotion with them as well. And then it was 2010 I joined Chorley, so I think it's my 10th season now, 9th or 10th season I think. Joined Chorley with Gary Flitcroft, who was obviously Stephen's brother, who I played with at Accrington. I went there as a player. Initially only played a dozen or so games really, but it was already a bit of a backroom role as a player. I was scouting games for them, a few coaching sessions here and there. I really enjoyed that, and Gary turned the club's fortunes around when he came in. We've been there 10 years, rough estimate, 9 or 10 years now. We've had 3 promotions, and of course we're in the conference ourselves, although we're struggling this year, of course, near the bottom. But yeah, 3 promotions in 10 years there. I was, after Gary left, about 3 years after, when did he leave? 2014, I think. Matt Janssen, who was Gary's assistant, took over. And I was assistant manager to Yanni for his 3 years as well, with Jamie Miglio. And then our current manager is Jamie now, of course. He became manager, and he got us promoted last year into the conference.
Yeah, so 10 years at one club, you must be, part of the furniture now at Chorley. So you know everyone around the club, and I'm sure you're very popular, like you were at Accrington. So do you see yourself moving on anywhere, Jonathan, at all, or are you happy there?
No, really happy. Really happy at Chorley. It's been tough this season. We've got into a full-time league. That's the difference from when we went up at Accrington. The stories of Accrington and Chorley are so similar that the rise up the leagues that both of them have done. The gates are similar. The people around the club, the volunteers, the unsung heroes, so to speak. Every good non-league club needs those people, and that's what Chorley's got, just like Accrington had in abundance. But I suppose there's that glass ceiling that every club hits, and we've hit that at the moment. And without financial backing, it's tough to see the club competing in that national league now, where every team is full time. I think bar one or 2 teams maybe, but those teams who are not full time, they have a lot of financial backing as well behind them. And it's just been a real struggle this year. We've had 10 really great, fantastic years, and my family come to all the games at Chorley as well. It's been a lovely journey, but this year's been really frustrating because we're just not competing on equal footing. But everyone's done give it the best shot, so to speak. But who knows? We might get another stab at it with the current situation.
Yeah, you don't know, do you? You've drawn a lot of games, haven't you? I've noticed. I've been keeping an eye on your first season from afar. I don't know what form's like, but you've drawn an enormous amount of games.
Yeah, it's such a tight line in these games.
14 is actually tied for the most in the league. It's just 14 draws. So that's a third of the games that you played that you've been right there neck and neck. And I mean, I think when you look at some of the numbers, I mean, certainly the minus 34 goal difference, that is really, really tough when you have to go through a season like that. But certainly when you see those 14 draws, that tells you the guys are competing for 90 minutes and not giving up.
Yeah, the team spirit is unbelievable there. You know, we've had a similar set of lads, you know, for many years who have got us through. You know, some of these games this year, they've been there a long time. You know, just the fact that some of them have got the names on the back of the shirt, it means the world to me. You know, and to Jamie as well, the manager, and Andy Priest, who's with us as well. When you're looking at those lads, they've come up through the leagues and they've got the names on the back of the shirt. It does mean, you know, it means a lot to us just to see them playing at that level. But yeah, we've improved one or two players this season, but to be honest, we're disappointed to be where we are. Many of those games we've missed a lot of penalties. We've been beat by the odd goal here and there. I think we're still probably the joint best team for clean sheets, which shows you what's happened this year. When you know, we are in games and we can keep clean sheets, but in one or two games, teams have opened us up when we've come to try and, you know, and play against them and be attacking and play good football. They've opened us up at times, and we've been beat 4, 5, and 6 on you know, on a few occasions, which was never good for confidence. And then combine that with, I think it's about 5 or 6 penalties we've missed this year. If we score those goals, we're in a different situation. But yeah, at the minute, chips are down. But you know, stick together and see what these next few months bring, and obviously hatch a plan if we do get relegated. The plans in place for us to get back up.
It's just such a competitive league from top to bottom, because if you look at a team like AFC Fylde, they were up for promotion and just missed it by losing to Salford in the last game last season, and now they're in 23rd. So it just tells you that Wrexham's another team that was at the top of the table last year, and they're down in 20th. So I mean, 1 through 24, it doesn't get any more competitive than the National League.
The clubs that are in there, and again, you know, we haven't got a small club syndrome at all, but you're looking at Chorley, and you've got Fylde in there, you've got Chesterfield, Wrexham, and then Ebbsfleet as well. I mean, you look at Ebbsfleet, people probably haven't even heard of them. In Accrington days, the last time we played them, they were Gravesend. They've changed the name, of course. Yeah. But even they're producing losses of 1.8 million for the year. So that shows you the sort of money you're talking about that clubs are spending at that level. If they lost 1.8 million and they're one of the so-called smaller teams that we're talking about, you know, you've got Stockport in there, Wrexham, or other big clubs.
I believe that I've heard that Andy has gone on record on Twitter that Accrington's payroll in League One is right around $2 million a year. So you're talking about a team in the National League that's reporting a loss that's equal to Accrington's entire League One payroll, is what you're saying.
Exactly, and Chesterfield, there's been something on Twitter as well this week. Chesterfield, their loss of £3 million in the last year, and I think they lost even more the year before. So again, when you talk about Andy Holt, and by the way, what an amazing job he's done. He's been fantastic for the club. I've never met Andy. I would love to meet him. I've followed him on Twitter and things. Let's say a lot of such common sense he speaks. I suppose that's the problem with being involved in football. You know, Saturday and Tuesday, I would love to get down to Accrington more and see people, but you know, one day that will happen, of course. But yeah, even with Fylde, when we're talking about Fylde in that league there, I think they've spent £15 million. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure that's right. You know, they're on full-time football, a brand new stadium. You know, they've been spending money to get into the position that they are. But 10 years ago, us and Fylde were in the same league at Chorley, and you know, and we've clung on to their coattails a little bit. But yet we're only 6 or 7 points behind each other. So yeah, it's testament to how well Chorley has done in the last 10 years that we can, you know, be in and about those big teams.
Yeah, I mean, it really is one of those David and Goliath situations where you just have those teams. Even a club like Notts County that's come down after being in the Football League for 150 years, and now they're fighting it out of the conference.
Yeah, we had an interesting meeting with their manager after the game. We were beaten them 1-0 at half time. We were playing very well, and honestly, we got beat 5-1. And defensively, and as a team, we hardly put a foot wrong in that game. It 27 full-time professionals, you know, big
Yeah, I'm sure if they stick together, and it'll come again, won't it? Because obviously, there's a lot of good things been going on over the last 10 years. So.
Yeah, we need to look at things and obviously change one or two things, but more than confident we can fix it. Chuffed that the board have backed us to fix it and to get it right, and they're realistic as well. That they've tried to provide as much funds as they can for us, but we all knew it was going to be difficult to get into that league. So, but again, it's exactly the same story as Accrington. When Accrington got in the Football League, of course, it was difficult. Bigger teams were coming with bigger budgets, but if you stick with it, and keep doing things right on the pitch, hopefully you can move one or two players on for a bit of money. For example, like Accrington have done, just improve your ground a little bit. It's just those small steps, and I think Accrington are a shining example of any small club that just look at where you can be competing with the likes of Sunderland.
I think the what you said there about small steps is what it really comes down to, because I think if you see so many clubs out there that are biting off more they could chew, sustaining these huge losses that ultimately are unsustainable long term, and a club that maybe takes a few more years and maybe has to bounce back up and forth between leagues a little bit is ultimately going to have a better long term future than a club that just throws a bunch of money at trying to win right away, and then if that doesn't work out, then that's where you end up seeing these clubs in real financial trouble, or even shutting the doors, like a Barry, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the big things Accrington did, Phil, as well, was actually, I always remember Accrington had one or two good players coming through, but they were always on one-year deals because the club couldn't offer 2-year deals, or they couldn't attract the player to sign a 2-year deal because that wasn't in place. And I think that's something that Andy's been able to do with the lads. So the lads are on longer-term deals. So if someone is interested, rather than the big club waiting to the summer to get them for nothing, they were having to pay a fee for them, and look at the fees Accrington have got recently. That's what every small club have to aspire to do, to have a conveyor belt of players coming through, and 1 in 10 of those will go on and be a decent signing for somebody, and obviously a big payday for the club as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that, for instance, Caden Jackson was a guy that I think it was $1.75 million that Accrington got for him, and when you're able to sell off a contract like that, then it pays almost a whole bill for a year based on the numbers we were talking about earlier. But now the Accrington supporters, they did send in some questions here for us, so we definitely want to make sure that we get to those here, because there's some good ones here. And Darren, did you want to ask the first listener question, and then we'll just kind of go back and forth after that?
Yeah, I will do. So you're famous for your headband and the amount of blood that was on it at the time from a Droylsden game. Now, Rob Russell on Facebook has asked, did you keep the headband? And he wants to buy it, I think. He's a collector of items, memorabilia.
Some headband it was as well. To be honest, that was such a nasty one, but I don't have any memory of it. But other people will sort of fill in the blanks for me. So I've challenged with a goalkeeper. I think I've jumped early, trying to score a goal, and I've got above the goalkeeper, and then the goalkeeper's then jumped up, and his header's come into mine on the way down. I've got a facial injury there, so I lost both my 2 front teeth at the bottom, broke my nose, and fractured my cheekbone. So it was, like you say, there was a bloody mess everywhere. Blood and teeth all over the place. Now at this point, I have no memory of it. Andy Proctor, who spoke at my wedding actually, my best man. He tells a story where I get my 2 teeth out of my mouth and I give them to the referee to put in his pocket so he can look after them. But I have no memory of this whatsoever. I tried to carry on playing. I think I had to come off shortly afterwards. But yeah, I have no memory of Joe Osborne game whatsoever. But apparently that's the story that Andrew tells you. I gave the referee my teeth to look after. So still got two.
I mean, unbelievably, we had two games in 2 days, didn't we? On that weekend, that was a double header, weren't it?
Wow.
Yeah, that was Fitch Pilot. We'd done well in the cups, and a couple of games were called off, and we had to play Saturday, Sunday. I think we won both games, didn't we?
Yeah, and got promoted. So yeah.
The next question we have is also from Rob Russell, and he wanted to know: did you ever score a goal with your feet?
Definitely did. No, 100% did.
I don't remember that one.
Not many. No, Burscough, that was one of the promotion seasons, I think. Yeah. Following in from the John Coleman shoots, he should have scored actually, and he didn't. So John was still playing at a few guest appearances at that point. And yeah, he should have scored. The keeper saved it, and I followed in and finished with my feet. I think got a bit lucky. Rolled down my shin pad, I think.
The next one, and he's hogging the limelight, Rob Russell. He has 3 questions, but I thought they were all good, so I kept them all in. The third one: would you ever consider coming back to Stanley in the future in a coaching capacity or managerial capacity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, full-time football. We had a couple of opportunities when Matt Jansen was manager. He was offered some good jobs, Carlisle, and I think he had some interest from Fleetwood at one point as well. Full-time football isn't for me. With teaching and things, I've got a settled career there, assistant head teacher, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing with that. I think these days, not many contracts flying about that are long-term in football, so to give that up for a lower league, football career, so to speak, is probably not something that I'd want to do, but I'll always want to be involved around non-league. But as far as a job at Accrington or something, of course I would. Imagine watching games for Accrington and giving scout reports or whatever to John and Jimmy. I'd absolutely love that, talent spotting people or things, players who are coming up from non-league. But to be fair, I always tell them anyway, if it's players that we can't attract at Chorley, straight away I'm always telling John about players who are available in non-league who I think could step up. So I still speak to them often. I saw Jimmy only last week. He came to one of our games, so I always stay in touch with them and obviously try and help them out best we can. And we've took players from Accrington, of course. Marcus Carver is our talisman at Chorley, so he's done very, very well for us at Chorley since he moved from Accrington. So yeah, one day, who knows? But certainly, as a manager, definitely not. No, management's not for me. Full-time football's not for me. But yeah, watching players and seeing who's got the potential to step up, that's what I enjoy doing.
Now, speaking of Jimmy Bell, the next question here actually comes from a former teammate of yours, Jamie Spear, and he wanted to ask about the horse's head awarded by Jimmy Bell. There's got a story there.
that was made in my honour. That was my award. So it ended up Jimmy found, I don't know where he got this horse's head thing from, but he brought it into training, and I'd had some stinking games. I'd had some shocking games. So yeah, for that week I won the horse's head. I won the inaugural one, and it ended up, I don't know how it turned out to be this, but it ended up being a smelly shirt in the end. So this horse's head was, I don't know, it was like shirt or it disappeared. No one knows where it went to. Certainly not on my mantelpiece anyway. But yeah, it was brought into training once a week. So the worst trainer or the worst performance or something, if you did something wrong, a mistake, then you got the horse's head. But this horse's head ended up turning into a horrible smelly top that you had to wear in training for a poor performance. But good on Jamie Spear to mention that. Let me. I've got to give you a few Jamie Spear stories here, haven't I? I've got to get something back in here. So I scored the best own goal you've ever seen away at Kendal. We were first or second season with John and Jimmy. Square post back in those days, and someone shoots, it hits the post. I'm stood, must be around penalty spots towards the D in the area. But this ball, it's come back at a real pace. I think my leg's actually straight when the ball's come to me, but I'm facing my own goal. It's hit my shin pad area, top of my knee. And Jamie's had all this time to respond to it, but he just simply watched the ball go past. It was the worst own goal I've ever seen, but Jamie could have saved it. So my blush is it goes down as an own goal from me, but shocking performance from him on that one. And he also, another one about another blood and guts story. There's a a through ball played, and Jamie's coming out in one game. It was at home, actually, one of my first games for Accrington. So Jamie's going to come out, and like all keepers do, he jumps up with his hands high up to, this high through ball that's coming through, and he's jumped with his knee up, and I'm running back towards my own goal, and Jamie's knee has hit. I'm running full pelt, which isn't very quick, but still, I run full pelt into his knee. His knee's hit me in the chest, in like the heart area, and it's knocked me out cold. Woke up on my back, and I was coughing up blood all over the place. So this lad who's throwing in things about horses' heads and things, he could have saved an own goal for me, and he'd given me a bad injury as well. So we played a lot of games, and I'm joking aside, great lad,
Yeah,
Jamie, really good lad. He was a big part of what we did in the first few years at Accrington in particular. Big character, and again, someone who's been coached and trained in the Naval Southall as his understudy. Just at the point that we had him at Accrington, it was amazing. He did really well for us in the first few years.
Yeah. So next one, Alex Crook, a big supporter of Stanley. He's asking what your best performance in a Stanley shirt was. What is there one game that stands out for you, Jonathan?
Yeah, big one. Radcliffe Borough away. Now that you talk about big games for Accrington, who playing Sunderland and things, you talk about Radcliffe Borough, but yeah, there you go. So Radcliffe were well up in the league in that first season. I think they finished fourth or fifth or something. We were playing away, and on that day there was 800 Accrington fans that walked to had made this charity walk from Accrington to Radcliffe. There was, I'd say a few thousand Accrington fans who came over because it was a bank holiday Monday game, I think, if I remember rightly. We had to win. Again, Radcliffe were flying high. We were probably in third or fourth position at that point. If we got beat, all our chances of going up were sort of out of the window. Now, you have to forgive me on the score. I think we were getting beat at half-time 2-0.
You're right, yeah.
John and Jimmy were going mad at half-time. Radcliffe had this decent centre-forward and a good midfielder. The centre-forward was Paul Mullen, and the centre midfielder was a lad called Simon Carden. And they were both playing pretty well. And Paul Mullen was actually marking me on corners. We won the game 3-2. I scored 2 goals. And the third one, I nodded down for Jimmy Bell nonetheless to come in and score, I think, in that game. So, yeah, that sticks in my head. The season was over, we were getting beat 2-0 at half-time, but, really thrilled to be a part of that winning team, and to turn it around and win 3-2 was fantastic. So, yeah, that sticks in my head most, I think.
Yeah, well, likewise, I think it's probably my most memorable game ever, because I think if you look back, it's a memorable game watching. I wasn't playing, obviously, but none of the rest of what came in the last 20 years, it wouldn't have happened without that day. So it just, and to be losing at half time and then coming back and winning, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. I remember it being red hot, and again, the fans out there got us over the line. They're part of playing it as well. There was, Radcliffe's a pretty small team, a small club, a lovely club and a nice club, but Accrington took over that ground that day, and it was just the fans who ruled it over the line and got us through.
All right, well, we've got one last listener question for you here, and this is a good one here from Robert Mitchell, and he wants to know how many times you came off the pitch bleeding.
Many, yeah, too many. Yeah, I think that comes from just naivety, and as you got older, I didn't get cut as much at all. I think when people talk about protecting themselves, don't they, jumping with their arms and leaning with the elbows and things. You can tell I don't like blowing my own trumpet, but honestly, I could in a full game I wouldn't lose a header. I know that I wouldn't lose a header at all. And I think playing against some experienced centre forwards, there's a bit of pride at stake there, and you kept getting beat and losing things, and in the end, you have to do something to stop me. So more often than not, it was an elbow or a late tackle. A lot of people did get sent off against me because I think it was quite frustrating for them, because I would dominate things in the air in both boxes. So sometimes people would try and leave one in. So how many times I came off the pitch? Countless. Yeah, countless. But as you get more experience, you learn how to protect yourself and to realise when someone's trying to hurt you, kind of thing. You do get better at that sort of thing.
Well, that definitely is backed up by the Cult Hero article that I mentioned earlier, because in that article you were mentioned as the best player in the air to ever grace the pitch at Wham Stadium, I believe is how it was put in there.
That's brilliant. Goodness me. Yeah, that means a lot, and yeah, that was the big part of my game, massive part of my game. My mum laughs actually. We've got lots of like mums do. They keep all little snippets of things, don't they? But I'll challenge anyone to find one picture in any paper or any cutout where the ball's at my feet. There's not one where the ball is on the floor and I'm about to kick it. Every single picture you see me with a screwed up face or an aerial challenge or anything, but the ball was never at my feet. So yeah, I think that's why I got more facial injuries than other injuries. Really, I was quite lucky with other injuries. It was just more facial injuries that I got. Black eyes, broken noses, the lot. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, just in all seriousness, thanks for coming on, Jonathan. But I don't know, you're understated, and you're mentioning you weren't good with your feet, but there's a few guys like yourself. You're one of them that without your kind of the way you've gone about your career over 5-6 seasons being loyal to the club, it's helped build the current situation that we're in now. So thanks for that.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Darren. It's been nice to talk about some of the things. I'll be honest, I have had to write a lot of it down because I couldn't remember all of it at some points. But yeah, headed too many balls.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And like Darren said, I mean, it's just hearing about those formative years of the modern Stanley, if you will, and it just hearing what a close knit group all of you guys were with the way that you and Jamie would give each other a hard time on the podcast 20 years ago. That just speaks to the fact that you guys are family to this day, in the sense that and that's just what makes us love Accrington Stanley so much. Is just the close-knit family environment of the club in general.
Thank you. Kind words, Phil. Appreciate that. Thank you. It's great to be a part of it, and obviously nice to go over these old times and the successes that we had. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and we'd love to have you back on the show anytime, and we really appreciate your time, and good luck with Chorley once everything gets back going on the pitch. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that everybody can just stay safe and healthy over these next however many weeks, and then let's get back to football and back to making memories.
Well said, Phil.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. Thanks, both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, have a great night.